The woman was carefully getting ready for her blind date, but she hadn't expected him to arrive early. When she opened the door, she was shocked at how different he looked from her colleague's description. The man had an unkempt beard and disheveled appearance. He wasn't tall or handsome, and there was something creepy about him. This immediately made her want to back out, but out of politeness, she invited him in anyway. She had changed into a white dress. The man looked at her figure and said, "You're sexy." She felt offended. Through their conversation, she realized she had mistaken him for someone else and wanted to ask him to leave. But the man turned to the door and locked it. She warned him to leave immediately, or she would call the police. But he kept advancing toward her, saying he had liked her for a long time. She tried to run, but he grabbed her by the hair and assaulted her. Despite her desperate struggle, she couldn't fight him off. Afterward, the man quickly fled the scene. When her actual blind date arrived at her home, he was shocked by what he saw. Miranda was a nurse. At almost 30, she was still single, which worried her colleagues and friends. Her biggest dream was to become a surgical nurse, and she had been working hard toward that goal for years. That day was her colleague's birthday, and the colleague took the opportunity to set her up on a blind date. Knowing Miranda had severe germophobia, her colleague introduced her to a clean-cut, tall, handsome man. Miranda reluctantly agreed, which led to the scene described earlier. Fortunately, Miranda's physical injuries weren't serious, but she was emotionally devastated. She kept trying to remember who her attacker was. Finally, she recalled that the attacker was named William, who had delivered food to her several times before. With this lead, the police quickly tracked down the restaurant where William worked and arrested him as he was preparing to flee. William was thrown in jail, but Miranda's life didn't improve. The psychological and physical trauma left her depressed. Her father, unable to protect his daughter, was heartbroken. When she returned to work at the hospital after recovery, she discovered her hands wouldn't stop shaking, a devastating blow to her dream. At home, she tried to bake cakes to strengthen her hands, but repeated failures made her increasingly frustrated. She became hysterical. After lying on the floor for an entire night, Miranda seemed to have realized something. She wrote a letter and mailed it to William in prison. She suddenly seemed full of life again, with smiles returning to her face. Though her letters were returned unopened, she kept writing one after another, until finally she received a reply that read, "You win." He had also agreed to her request for a prison visit.